All right, Guardian, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving deep into a critical part of the Space Force. Space Domain Awareness, SDA. We're breaking down SDP 3100, which is like your guide to understanding this crazy important domain.
Yeah, imagine trying to defend a country without knowing like what aircraft are in the sky, right? Who's flying them, what they're doing. It's the same challenge in space if we don't get a handle on SDA.
Right, so knowing what's happening up there, who put it there, and what it might do, that's all pretty important stuff, huh?
You got it. And it's even more than just keeping an eye on satellites. It's about making space safe for everyone, keeping things stable and secure.
Okay, I'm hearing you on the safe, stable, secure thing. Why is that such a big deal right now?
Well, think about it. Space is getting crowded. It's not just, the big players launching satellites anymore. You've got commercial companies setting up thousands of tiny satellites, universities doing experiments. Even like countries you wouldn't expect are getting in on the space game now.
Hold on, wait. Countries I wouldn't expect. Okay, you got to give me an example. It's wild.
Remember a few years back when that company launched all those tiny communication satellites? Like thousands of them, practically blanketed low Earth orbit? That created a whole new set of problems. Tracking, collisions, even just knowing who to call if something goes wrong.
Yeah, okay. That's a lot to keep track of. So how do we make sense of all that activity? How do we stop it from becoming a cosmic free-for-all?
That's where space situational awareness comes in. SSA, the foundation of SDA. Think of it like having, I don't know, a real-time Google Maps for space. We always know what's where and can avoid any nasty surprises.
A Google Maps for space, I like that. Much easier to understand than some of the definitions I've seen.
Well, SDP 3100 defines it as, let me see, the requisite foundational, current, and predictive knowledge and characterization of space objects within the space domain. But yeah, Google Maps for space sums it up pretty well.
Right, so we need to know what's up there and where it's going. But how do we actually see what's happening thousands of miles above Earth?
We've got a whole network of sensors, both on the ground and in space. Giant radars, powerful telescopes, even some pretty unexpected methods, which we'll get into later.
Radars, telescopes. I know we're talking. Let's get into those sensors. Okay, so when I think radars, I think those giant, like, dishes, rotating around,
That's so
scanning the
right.
skies, like, very sci-fi.
Yeah, those are the big mechanically steered radars. We've got those. But the really cool stuff is the phased array radar. So imagine like a flat panel covered in thousands of tiny antennas all working together.
Huh. So almost like I don't know, a giant bug eye or something.
Yeah, kind of. But these things are amazing. They can send out this beam of energy so powerful. Like we're talking megawatts here. It could like light up a small city for a split second.
Whoa, okay. Not the kind of thing you want to stand in front of them.
Nope. But that power is what lets us see stuff thousands of miles away, even through clouds, bad weather, all that. And the best part, they can track hundreds of objects at once. They're always scanning, always updating.
So that's how we keep an eye on those mega constellations of tiny satellites. What about telescopes? Do they play a role in all this?
Absolutely. We use what are called optical and infrared sensors. Basically, super powerful telescopes, both on the ground and in orbit. They use light, visible, and infrared that's heat to detect and track things.
Ah, so even if something's hiding in the dark, we can still spot it by its heat.
Exactly. Of course, they do have some downsides. Things like clouds, even just the air moving around, can mess with the light, make it hard to get a clear picture.
Right, we've all tried to look through a telescope on a hazy night.
Yeah.
So we've got these powerful radars, incredible telescopes.
hmm
But you mentioned some other more unexpected ways of gathering SDA data, right? Like those space eavesdroppers we talked about.
Right. Those are passive radio frequency sensors. So,
Hmm.
unlike radars, which send out their own signal, these just listen. They pick up radio waves that are already out there. Could be communication signals from satellites, even radar emissions from other countries.
Oh, interesting. So instead of actively searching, we're listening for clues,
Yeah.
picking up whispers in the cosmic wind.
Haha, I like that. And by analyzing those signals, we can not only find a spacecraft, but also learn its pattern of life.
Pattern of life. Okay, now we're getting really advanced. What does that even mean for something in space?
Basically, it's about recognizing routines. You probably leave for work around the same time every day, right? Satellites have routines too. The way they maneuver, the signals they send, even when they turn their instruments on and off.
So if a satellite suddenly breaks its routine, that could mean something's up.
Exactly. It might mean there's a malfunction, or it could even be trying to hide something. This is why SDA isn't just about data, it's about understanding what it all means, seeing the bigger picture, recognizing when something's off.
This is really cool stuff. It's like building a cosmic fingerprint for every object up there.
Yeah.
But there's one more sensor mentioned in SDP 3100. Space environmental monitoring. What's that all about?
Oh, that's a big one and often overlooked. It's not just about what we put in space, it's about the environment itself. So, monitoring solar activity like solar flares, those big eruptions that can blast Earth with radiation.
Yeah, and those can fry electronics, right? I've heard they could be really bad for satellites.
For sure. That's why we've got spacecraft and sensors on the ground keeping a constant watch on space weather. Gives us a heads up if a solar storm's coming so we can protect our satellites, maybe put them into safe mode or move them out of the way.
So it's like having a weather forecast, but instead of grabbing an umbrella, we're adjusting satellite orbits. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got all this information coming in, from radars, telescopes, you name it. What do we actually do with it all? So we've got this whole network of sensors giving us this incredible picture of everything happening in space, but just having all that information, that's only half the battle, isn't it?
You got it. SDP 3100, it's not just about collecting the data, it's about using it, turning it into action, into decisions that keep our stuff safe, our missions on track.
All right, so let's talk action. What are some of the key things Guardians actually do with all this SDA intel?
Well, we touched on one already, right? Environmental monitoring, having that heads up about solar storms, that's huge for protecting our satellites, but that's just one piece. SDP 3100 lays out several key SDA actions. One of the big ones is conjunction assessment.
Conjunction assessment, okay, that's about preventing collisions. Right, like in space.
Exactly. Think of it like air traffic control, but for space. We use all that tracking data to see if anything's going to get too close.
I'm guessing too close in space is still pretty far apart, right? Because even a small collision could be disastrous.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine like a piece of debris, maybe the size of a softball, slamming into a satellite at like 17,000 miles an hour. We're talking a huge explosion. Mission over.
Yeah, okay, I get the picture.
Yeah.
Definitely don't want that. So how do we stop these cosmic fender benders from happening? Do we have some kind of, like, space traffic cop calling out, hey, you're getting too close?
Haha, I wish. No, but seriously, if we see two objects on a collision course, we can actually maneuver them, nudge them out of the way.
Wait, seriously? We can, like, move satellites out of the way? How does that even work?
Most satellites have these little thrusters, right? Lets them make tiny adjustments to their orbits. Might seem like a small change, but it makes all the difference when you're talking about those kinds of speeds.
Wow, that's wild. It's like space ballet, but with really high stakes. So we've got environmental monitoring, we've got collision avoidance. What about when something's on its way back to Earth?
Right, so that's another key part of SDA, deorbit and reentry support. Even when something's falling back down, we don't just stop paying attention.
Right, because even a hunk of space junk could do some serious damage if it lands in the wrong place.
Exactly. And not just damage. We need to know where and when those objects are going to reenter for safety. Yeah, but also to prevent, well, misunderstandings.
Misunderstandings, what do you mean?
Think about it. A big satellite re-entering the atmosphere, burning up on the way down. Somebody who doesn't know what they're looking at, they might think it's an attack. Could be a really bad situation.
Yeah, no kidding. Definitely something we want to avoid.
Yeah.
Okay, so SDA is about knowing what's up there, keeping things from hitting each other, and making sure everyone's safe, even when things are falling back down to Earth.
Nailed it. But here's the thing, SDA, it's not just about checking boxes, following procedures. It's about staying aware, thinking ahead, being ready for anything.
It's mindset.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important for every Guardian, no matter what their job is, to get this stuff, to understand how SDA works.
Couldn't agree more. Well, Guardian, that's a wrap on our deep dive into SDP 3100. We talked about why SDA matters, how we get the information, and how we use it to keep space safe, stable, and secure.
But remember, SDA is always changing. New technologies, new challenges, more and more stuff in space every day.
So never stop learning, never stop asking questions, and never, ever take space for granted. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the wild world of space domain awareness. Until next time, Guardian, stay curious.